All right, I'm just gonna hang out here and do some art. I'm using pastels on a board. It's a panel that's been treated with the surface so that I can use all sorts of materials. I haven't used one of these boards in a while, and so I'm trying to just kind of get back into things here a little bit. And this board you can use all sorts of materials on. Obviously, I'm using pastels here, chalk pastels, so it doesn't need to be acrylic paint. I believe you can use watercolor even on this and mix some of the media together, which we'll see if I'll do that or not. And I am doing kind of a digital, I'm sorry, an analog, a traditional version of the factory water tower at the factory in Franklin, Tennessee. I've done a digital version of this, and I want to do a version that is non-digital. And so this is my attempt to kind of do a different version. And it's not exactly the same. This is a kind of a different angle. It's more from underneath. My other one is really more from straight on. But there's a bit of me just kind of playing here and getting back used to using some more pastels, which I haven't used in a little bit, probably since the last demo that I did with Pee Wee Herman, if you saw that one. And there's something about pastels that I really just love, the vibrancy and being able to work this so that you can kind of get some really vibrant effects. I also have here some Prismacolor colored pencils, and we'll see, I may just add a little bit of that in here as well. And of course, this is just the base of this. I may, in fact, actually add some acrylic paint marker to this as well, but we'll see. Right now, it's really me just blocking in some color on some areas here. And I intend to keep it more loose, more suggested, and not so precise, obviously, here. Now, again, right now, I'm just kind of blocking out some color areas. So this will be the base of what it is that I'm doing. I love adding different colors on top of the pastels. It's probably a little hard to see right now, but once you get a little bit of the colors next to each other, sometimes they can kind of vibrate really nicely, and you can get some nice effects. hate that I can't put music on right now, because every time I've put music on, social media has flagged it as a violation of copyright. And even when I've gone to do non-copyrighted, I guess it's somehow still finds its way through and becomes problematic. I'm trying to avoid that right now, and just kind of play around right now. I'm not even sure how long I'll be doing this for right now, but being that I have some things set up, I figured I might as well go ahead and do this so that I can show a little bit more, because I said I was going to do some more demo stuff, and then I haven't done that, unfortunately. And I do want to do more of this. I just need to be remembering to actually do this. And I still do a majority of my stuff digitally. And so having to clean up this area where I can actually work on this was a little bit of a chore this weekend. And so now I know, like I said, this looks like a little sloppy and all over the place. But remember, with these things, we build. It's layering and it's refining. And so I, again, am just putting down some of these initial color blocks. I really do love how you can get the texture of pastel and again, the vibrancy. And right now I've just kind of laid it down, but you can also smooth out using your finger or some other stylus. And so if you don't want as many marks, you can smooth it out. Again, I'm going to keep layering this. I've had this panel board for a while, and I've been wanting to do something with it, and I just wasn't sure what I was going to end up doing. And so I decided, again, to take the image that I did of this, actually shot this photograph from underneath it more recently, and continuing to explore my new home in the Nashville area, this particularly in Franklin, Tennessee. And so beginning stages are always a little bit like wonky, because what you see in your head is certainly not what you see immediately on the canvas. And so you have to just have patience, keep working at it. And it's funny, because I do so many things digitally, the payoff is more immediate when you do digital painting. because there's nothing to dry, and you're simply using the stylus, and you're getting more immediate results of what you're seeing on the screen is real time. But what you do here is you layer. There are some things that I've done digitally that I'm curious to see how I can translate to the traditional materials. And some of that may be an experiment for me. And so this will be the work in progress. It's so exciting when you can get to that point where you're actually past the initial stages and you start to see things taking shape and matching more of what you may see in your head. I do have to remember that this is a wood panel, and as I'm smudging, that I don't get a splinter. I have taped off the edges, and so hopefully there shouldn't be much of an issue, but it is something to be aware of. Starting to fill in. I was watching a video earlier. A woman was using acrylic paint and then wanted to use pastel over that. And not all materials will play nice together. And so what she ended up doing was, because if you try and use a pastel on top of acrylic, it just won't adhere to it, and you won't see the beauty of pastels on top of that. So she did the acrylic painting and then used some clear gesso to put on top of and let that dry, and it had a grittiness to it, kind of a almost like a sand in it. And so that grittiness really helps the pastel adhere to it and gives it something to kind of grab a hold to. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. I always love seeing how other artists end up finding solutions for some of the things that they want to do. I also have pretty terrible lighting right now. You may not be able to tell from watching on the screen, but I definitely need to fix this area more and get a light hanging on this easel and get a few more things set so that this is a better working environment. But it certainly is better than it's been for the past several months. where basically it was just stuff in front of this. I couldn't get to it. All the art shows and things that I've been at recently have been having me bring stuff in here, dropping it down, and then grabbing more stuff. And it's just been a disaster of boxes and packages and canvases everywhere and all sorts of things that made it really a mess, honestly. So I'm happy that I can actually get to the easel, which was the first challenge that I had. And then I'm like, okay, once I can get to it, then I can actually start working on some stuff. And so this is also a whole new setup, a whole new environment here. And so I don't have any typical usual type things going on. And so it's a little bit challenging in that regard too. Like I said, my plan is to actually go in and do some more stuff with some acrylic paint pens and some of this. Like, I'm not really sure exactly if this is going to adhere to this very nicely, but so there is a bit of experimentation going on here. But I think that in order to keep things fresh, there should always be some amount of experimentation that happens, because otherwise we can certainly fall into our ruts and patterns, and things can become a little boring. Unfortunately, some of the pencil marks that I have underneath were pretty dark, and I used a really soft lead, and so some of that was bleeding through a lot here too. So definitely some issues I have to field, but that's part of it, is the creative problem solving that you have to do. It's figuring out, okay, this didn't go as planned, or like those happy little accidents that Bob Ross talks about, right? Figuring out what to do with those happy little accidents. It's always great when you're using pastels and you get your hands filthy. I know a lot of people wear gloves, and I could certainly do that too, but there is something about being able to get your hands dirty, especially for me, like I said, always doing things digitally. Part of this is me getting back in touch with the more traditional materials and tools and getting my hands dirty like this, because obviously you can't do that when you're doing something digital. And you also have to make sure that you remember not to touch things that you're not supposed to touch. And I have a kind of apron on right now so that I'm not ruining my clothes, because that could very easily happen. More so with paints, if you don't catch it before it dries and becomes a problem. I'm also trying to get used to broadcasting while I'm still getting used to getting back in touch with this stuff. So there's a few things going on inside my head right now too, where I'm not completely on autopilot on the broadcasting end of things either. And so it's not allowing me to be fully present with some of the stuff I'm doing here either. But it's getting there. I may call it a night on this for right now and then revisit it with some fresh eyes. And again, it's really just about continuing to shape it and revise it as you go. Looking at things, figuring out what areas you need to improve, where some of those little mistakes have happened, what's matching your vision, what's not, and we'll see. We'll see how this comes out. But this certainly isn't a sit down in one session and crank this out type of thing. This is a sit with it and visit for a little bit and work, and then go back to it after a little bit. A lot of the things that I do digitally, I'm able to do in one session. And because I can work a lot quicker, because there's no cleanup, because there's no dry time, it's a lot easier to do that. And so it's also good for me to practice having some patience and to develop something and let it unfold and come back to it with fresh eyes, as opposed to it being a quicker process from start to finish. So anyway, hope that you enjoyed this little bit of insight into what I was doing tonight. And again, just wanted to try some of the stuff out. And if you'd like to see more of this kind of stuff, let me know. And I will try to work some of this into my schedule, where maybe I'll try and find a night where it seems like it's a consistent time that I can do. But for now, hopefully this was fun to watch. And if not, I'm sorry. And either way, I had some fun. And so I'm going to continue working this over some time. And as long as things go well with this, I'll keep you guys updated. Maybe I'll do another live when I actually dive back into this. But we'll see how things go. So whatever it is that you're doing tonight, I hope that you create something of your own. And I always believe, and I say this all the time, I believe we're all creative, and it's just a matter of how we're creative. So figure out what that looks like for you, and then do that with intention and purpose, because when you create, we all win. And that's it for tonight. Take care.